Hopefully, I've not lost. God willing, they'll come back. It looks like we are ready now.
Great. Well, good to
give me a moment. It's trying to link us now to YouTube, and then we should be happy. All right. I think we're back. I hope everyone has got a notification. Let me just type that out. We're back. Give me a minute. I'll be with you all now, and then we will run. We're already behind time, but I am excited. I'm excited. Andrew, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
PK, can you hear me as well?
I can hear you clearly, very clearly.
That is awesome. That is awesome. While I wait for some people to join us on YouTube, let's just do some tete-a-tetes here. How is Zambia, Andrew? Are we doing great? Are we well?
Zambia is fine. We're getting used to the state of affairs. In auditor language, because that's what I am, there are no material matters to report other than what is known. If I can put it that
way. That's a good one. And how is Texas? How is Dallas, PK?
Beautiful, man of God, beautiful. I mean, the businesses are opening, so we're creating new guidelines for opening. I guess probably the United States has decided that, it's a battle between values and numbers, and save life and lose the economy, or gain the economy and lose life. So I think there is a profiling of the lives to lose, and a decision, whichever way there's going to be an opportunity cost. So that's where the US is now, and then fighting with China has not helped, to be too value conscious. So the US is I think more business conscious right now.
Wow, you've just said a very serious mouthful there. And I am going to carefully stay away from that because if we get at the tip and tether along the lines of conspiracies and the power plays, we won't get to our core topic for today. So let's begin. I want to thank everyone that's watching us right now on YouTube. Thank you. I do apologize that we started late. I do hope that we can get you all back. I noticed that we've lost a few of you. I hope we can come back. Today, we're going to be talking about the options that SMMEs, that's your small and your medium enterprises, as well as your entrepreneurs, the options that they need to take advantage of right now in order for them to not just survive, but also thrive. I do believe that it is possible in spite of the chaos, and we don't deny that there is chaos before us right now. And all the pundits all around us are saying that all the entrepreneurs and all the small, medium enterprises are going to collapse. I mean, I don't know what is being said in Texas or what is being said in Zambia right now, but I know that in South Africa and some of the reports that I've been reading concerning other parts of Africa, they are actually envisaging that 80 to 90% of your small, medium enterprises and your entrepreneurs are either going to go bankrupt or they are really going to be terribly and adversely affected. And we don't deny the possibility of the effect, but I do think that if we get ahead of the curve, if we actually implement a few things, because God always has strategies. God is the ultimate strategist, and so there is a way out. I need to emphasize that I have noticed that not everybody has suffered during this time. Not everybody has lost during this time. There are many businesses that have actually gained momentum, that have actually gained a lot of new customers, they've gained a lot of new income during this time. And so it's not the same for everybody. And the hope here is that by the time we are done, we will be able to give people enough insight for them to be able to say, okay, I too can survive this, and maybe even more than that, I too can thrive beyond this. All right. So let me start by introducing my guests. I will just give a very short synopsis of what I'm familiar with concerning these powerhouses that are with me. Considering that, again, we've started behind time. Do accept my apologies one last time. First of all, I wanted to say the man with glasses, then I looked again. All three of us are wearing glasses. We need healing. That's we need healing right now. Let me start with the man with the blue shirt. That is Andrew Chibuye. He's based out there in Zambia, and he is a country partner for PwC. He oversees their audit and assurance. If I get something wrong, please throw it through, correct me as it were. I have been involved with Andrew in my trips to Zambia for the last 3-4 years.
Right.
He is quite knowledgeable in the matters that we're talking about, and even more knowledgeable beyond that scope. And so for me, it's with great joy to have him on board to bring his years of exposure. Also considering that a lot of your business takes you around Africa, as it were, if not around the world. I think your schooling was in the UK, here and there. You have a wealth of experience. I'm hoping we can narrow that wealth of experience to just address the matters on hand. Please say something to everyone.
Thank you very much. I'm thoroughly humbled to be sharing a platform with you, Pastor Tim, not to mention Pastor Kunle, who both of whom I've met through interactions at Mount Zion, and my Reverend Pastor Bruce. So it's great to be here. I'm happy to share whatever knowledge or insights I can. This is the issue that we're dealing with. It's something that preoccupies my mind. Much as I'm a consultant or a person who is working in a professional services firm in PwC, at the end of the day, I'm also running a business. So a lot of what we'll be discussing here are matters that I too am grappling with. It's not just stuff which I'm advising clients on or advising people on. It's stuff that we're actually dealing with. And I think it's also important to note that different organizations that will probably be at different levels in terms of where they are. Individuals will be at different levels, but we'll try and keep it as open as possible, as relevant to as many people as possible, and hopefully something that we'll glean from. I'm also looking to learn from yourself, from Pastor Kunle, and everyone else who participates in this forum.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then, of course, there is the very awesome Kunle Soriyan. Now, I don't even have the time to read his resume. His resume reads a mile long. The things that he has been involved in, the industries that he plays in, the executives that he works with, the Fortune 500 companies that he deals with, some of the things that PK has actually addressed. It's interesting to observe that he doesn't use the title prophet. He uses the title futurist. And I like it. That's a very nice way, a very modern way of talking about somebody who is able to look at trends and give some very interesting predictions, which I must add, in as much as Kunle did not mention the fact that there was a pandemic coming. He actually had mentioned in January, for those of you that might like this little trivia, he had actually mentioned in January, and actually even way back as 2018, if I'm not mistaken, he had actually mentioned that in 2020, that there was actually going to be a global economic crisis. Now, he said he wasn't sure what the trigger was going to be, but that in 2020, I know when you hear that, you're thinking, okay, how on earth was he able to predict that? Again, this is why we have brought the likes of Kunle, we have brought the likes of Andrew to come on board with us to help us unpack. So we're talking about someone who's the CEO of his organization. He's a futurist, he's a keynote speaker, he's an executive coach, he's a life coach, he is a believer, he advises pastors, he advises everywhere. He is a well-rounded sage, and it's just an honor to have you here. PK, say something to us. Please say something.
It's a big honor. It's a big honor to be here, my brother. I feel highly privileged every time I have to share the platform with you. Part of why I am drawn to your work is the contemporary culture shaping bend that you bring to the table to have conversations that transcend the walls of religion, and to ensure that faith remains a critical instrument that is significant to society. Keeping faith as a component with social significance is a major challenge for a lot of Christians today. And look at the kind of conversations we are having. I feel highly honored and blessed to be part of this. I'm excited. The world is in turmoil, but
yes, sir,
the children of God are in an advancement. And it's very important that we understand life that way, that there's nothing happening that is new. New, as a matter of fact, is such an oppressive myth when you are not a child of God. New is old happening to new people. New is old happening to new people. Old because all of these things are revealed and they are clear and they are going to happen. Christians have the privileged access to understand this before time and not be hopeless like the world. But when we don't give ourselves the covering that the kingdom gives us, then we find ourselves suffering at the same level with those who don't have the privilege of insight in this time. So there will be casting down, but lifting up for some. There will be darkness, gross darkness covering the people, but the light of God is on some, and that is you and I, and as many as we run under the banner of the Most High God in this time.
Wow. No. Here we go. New is an oppressive myth. Okay. Okay. It's a good thing you explained that. I was about to say, let's pause this whole talk show. Let's start with that. Let's unpack that first before we continue. But I get what you're saying. For the believer, in as much as it is new to the world, for the believer, it's not new to his God. And so it should not take us by surprise, even if our conscious mind was unaware of the event. From the realm of the spirit, from the dimensional perspective of God, we have always been aware and we are always prepared. And that is a word of encouragement to anyone, particularly if you are born again out there and you're watching this. That's a word of encouragement to you. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of today. Let's see how much of this we can cover. I want to start with you, PK. Since you've thrown some thoughts out there, you've already meandered into that dimension. Let's start with a quick overview of how the world has changed and the need for us to adapt or die. I mean, that's really it now.
Yeah,
we're in that situation where we either adapt or we die. And this is not just with respect to businesses. This is with respect to our marriages, with respect to church, with respect to everything. But let's focus as entrepreneurs, of which you are. Let's focus as business owners on the fact that we are there, adapt or die. Take it, PK.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You see, so part of what we need to understand about the world right now is the fact that there's a huge attack on the middle class, right? And of course, every attack on the middle class is an automatic attack on the lower class. I mean, so before COVID, you know, in fact, let me start with the word recession, because the head of the IMF at the end of March had announced that the world is in a global recession already. I mean, that's not something that is going to happen. That is what is happening. It probably can get worse or it can get better, but we are already in a recession. Now, the word recession can be technical for so many people to understand, particularly those who are not privileged to be in PwC, those who are not economics, or those who are not reading at that level. So they may find it, what is a recession? So in the most lay way, in the most lay and common way, I would describe a recession as a shrinking of opportunities, as a shrinking of opportunities. So people are not dying, people are alive, but the opportunities and the bracket of it is shrunk pretty much. So you have a lot of people pursuing few opportunities everywhere. So, and that is an impact on purchasing power. That is an impact on jobs. That is an impact on businesses, you know, and all of that. And you know, if you follow the money, that impacts on the family unit. It impacts on everything, on education, on everything, because the money is pretty much like the center. So part of that means that in the most pragmatic way, you see, in pre-COVID, you had the 99% and the 1%, right? But you had a coexisting of the 99% and the 1%. Part of the thinking is that when you hear about the 1%, we think of Bill Gates, we think of Jeff Bezos, we think of Mark Zuckerberg, we think of the billionaires as the 1%. That is not exactly true, because anyone earning as high as $35,000 a year is pretty much in the 1%, you know. I mean, $35,000 a year, you're in the 1%, pretty much. So that tells you, and how much is $35,000 a year? That tells you about the weight, the welfare economics that define the 99%. But before COVID, in pre-COVID, there was a coexistence of the 99 and the 1%. And so what that means is that the 99% can choose who he works with, when he works, how he wants to work, when he doesn't want to work, or when he wants to work, you know, what he wants to charge, what he doesn't want to charge. All of that can happen in pre-COVID. In post-COVID, there is no coexistence between the 99% and the 1%. There is a dependence of the 99% on the 1%. There is a dependence of the 99% on the 1%. And so what that means, that is happening because opportunities have shrunk. And it's not a testimonial, but there's going to be a major impact on small businesses, right? And what that means is that you are going to find a massive collapse of so many businesses, of so many small businesses. But the truth is that itself, you know, when observed from an helicopter view, is the character of advancement in itself. There is no way to articulate the borderlines of wisdom without defining and being clear about what foolishness is. I mean, somebody has to be foolish for wisdom to continue to have value. The bracket of those who stay within that bracket can widen. You can have a large bracket of those who are foolish and a tiny bracket of those who are wise, or a small bracket of those who are foolish and a wide bracket of those who are wise. But whichever way, there will always be a relationship between foolishness and wisdom. And it is that without the quotient, the factor of foolishness, it is difficult to define the weight of wisdom. So somebody will get it wrong, and then somebody will get it right. So if we know better, we do better. So this is not a time to worry and to say, oh, so there's a classification. A classification is a constant, right? Where you are within that divide is the critical question. And to answer those kind of questions is to understand some basic things. Yes, God is a master strategist, but God is not a magician. So God is going to give you responsibilities and things you have to be clear about so that you can impute into those things. Part of that is the best way I put that out is for people to take their time to study the current business model of Amazon, because Amazon pretty much for me represents business in post-COVID. Post-COVID, I must say, to end what I'm saying now, post-COVID is in three phases. There is a post-COVID that we are in already right now. We're already in post-COVID. Post-COVID does not begin at the end of the lockdown. You know, we are in post-COVID already, even as we are in lockdown. Maybe if you have time, we can go into that. Then that will continue from now till 2021, tops first quarter 2022. Then the second phase of post-COVID will be from 2022 all the way to 2030, right? And then that is the entire decade. And then you have the third phase beginning from 2030 and beyond it, right? What we are talking about today is pretty much like the first and the second phase of post-COVID. And the implication of that for a lot of people is to find compelling ideas that big businesses can rely on, right? I hope we'll have time to go into different sectors and futurize.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's not go
express
into
themselves. But that is pretty much what is going to happen. Only a compelling idea can find ground today for so many reasons. I'm sure we are going to get to later.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's not go into the strategies just yet, because I need to ensure that we're really able to unpack that properly. So at this point, yeah, thank you for that. You said some very interesting things. I think one of the things that you've said now that really hit me is how the character, the collapse that we're about to experience, that we're already experienced and we're about to experience, is the crucible. It's the character. It's the character of advancement, because we notice that in history, whenever things collapse, other things rise. Other things always rise. And so the key here, like you said, is we will be part of the ones that will rise. We will have the wisdom necessary to be part of those that will rise, because there will be a rising, even as there is a falling. But let me give Andrew a chance. Andrew, let me unmute you here. Please talk to us. Look, we have a few things I need us to deal with, but adapt or die. What's your take on that?
So the way that I see this, and when I was reflecting on it, in its basic form, we need to acknowledge priorities have changed in the short, medium to long term. Yeah. So everyone is primarily focused on their safety, their health, their spiritual, financial well-being. Routines have changed and will change and will remain this way for a while. How we work, how we socialize, how we go about making sure that we're remaining engaged and motivated. And I think culture is shifted as well. Yeah, the nature of COVID means that we have become a lot more impersonal. Yeah. Now, for me, this, I don't know if it seems quite basic, but the human being longs even just for a handshake, to look someone face to face. What does it mean when we're not able to have those interactions as we used to? The distance is real, and for me, it starts to border on even, like an inherent trust that begins to diminish. Pastor Tim, me and you can't come into the same room unless we're wearing face masks. Okay, actions speak louder than words. There is an inherent distrust. Okay, it's not about big things. It's about your safeguarding our own health and well-being. But the issue is, how does that then culture that's been cultivated because of the environment, how does that then transcend into our business relationships, our ability to interact, our ability to engage with people? Yeah, you want to have a discussion. We would have wanted to have this discussion around the table. You'd want, if you're running a business, to sit down and discuss an issue that is sensitive in nature with your banker or with a creditor that owes you. You can't do that now. What does it? How does that lack of interaction? How is that affecting the effectiveness of your ability to get things done in this particular environment? So I think the lack of the loss of that personal interaction, I think, leads to an inherent depletion in trust. There's something that comes from being able to shake someone's hand and look them in the eye before you sign off the deal. That's not happening at the moment, and that's something that always adds or adds something to the actual process in terms of what we need to do. I think we also need to be mindful that at this, where we are, everyone is looking to survive, but we are an ecosystem at the end of the day. So if someone owes me money, I owe someone money, they owe someone money, we all do business together. So at the end of the day, how is this particular environment that we find ourselves in affecting each and every one of us? How are we then, in our bid to survive, how do we make sure that the person who relies on us, i.e. a supplier or someone who we provide the service to, doesn't crumble in the process of us then trying to survive? So there are a lot of factors which come up because of how we're doing things, and because the reality is, Pastor Kunle was just elaborating that, look, there's going to be a period of time when things were going to look pretty different. I personally don't know what they knew. Well, nothing is new, as Pastor Kunle has said, but of where we're going, how we will encounter the world that we'll find 2, 3, even 4 days from now, let alone 5, 6, 7 days from now. So I think there's need to acknowledge where we are, and the way that I see this this situation that we're facing. I like to keep things as simple as I can. It's like an exam where you're given a case study before the exam, and it's information that you have. So when we look around, that is information that's there. Okay. When you go into the exam, you do not get any bonus points for simply regurgitating what is already there. Okay. However, if you discount it in addressing the questions that follow, you risk failing. Okay. So as believers, it's important for us to take cognizance of the reality or the situation that is prevailing around us, just like you would in a case study, but just say, look, this is background information. If I spend all of my time meditating on, I've lost this deal or my store is now closed, there's nothing that you are adding to the final answer, which is how you actually thrive. What takes us from where we are to where we need to be is a clear acknowledgement of where we are at the moment as background information, if you like, the case study, the what everyone else knows, but then how we then begin to apply ourselves in this particular environment is what will then differentiate us going forward. That is where we actually pass this practical exam, if I can put it that way.
You know, you've just spoken like a true consultant. We have to look at the current case study, look at what we already know, and and that's why I have you here. Thank you. But you said something which is very important: the fact that we're an ecosystem, and there is a change in the current model. There is an obvious change in the current model of the way we're doing business, and we're yet to understand the impact it's going to have. How the possible impersonality now that we are forced to have that could impact how we do business going forward. You know, but then we need to accept that everything indeed is affected. Our leadership models have to now change. Our leadership models have to change. Our monitoring styles for our staff, even the metrics that we use to measure productivity now needs to change, particularly in Africa, because everything is being affected. Everything has been touched one way or the other. Again, this is one of the reasons why we're doing this. And from this point, I would like us to now venture into some of your ideas with respect to what an entrepreneur can do, what a small business owner has to pay attention to. I have a few things that I will throw in here and there, but I really want to pick your brain now for the next 30 minutes that we have on what should they consider if they are going to not just survive, but even thrive and join the 1% at the upper echelon of the pendulum of that 1%, because it is possible. What should they be considering? What should they contemplate? I start with you, PK. Let me unmute you. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the idea of impersonality is very important. We have to understand, I mean, a lot of times people try to figure out what they need to do, and clarity is not a common fabric, right? So I always tell people, don't be too fixated on what you need to do. At times you need to start with what you should not do, you know, and then when you identify what you should not do, what is left may be what you need to do. And you can start from there. People try to understand God a lot. I tell people there are so many times I don't have a single idea what God is doing, but I am always clear about what he cannot be doing. And when I separate what he cannot be doing from what is going on, then what is left is usually what he's doing. So in so many ways, we agree on some things. The whole world agrees that technology is going to drive everything that we do in the future. If we agree on that, then we also have to automatically agree on the fact that impersonality becomes the energy of that, okay? if there's one thing technology would do, I mean, there are some things that comes with technology: speed, affordability, efficiency, effectiveness come with technology. What also comes with technology is impersonality, right? Which is the idea of privatization, the connotation that the human spirit now has the misfortune of experiencing its highest bliss and deepest misery without human contact, which is what happens when you're on social media and then you can be talking to somebody in another place, or you are doing video conferencing and all of that. So the world is not going to remain as it is. And the idea that our lives will be better if we see each other every day is a symposium discussion, because we are only saying that because that's what we are used to. We are used to that connection. That is what has defined us all our lives. We don't know another way of being. So it is always easy to have a comparison between the old and a new experience that is terrorizing us because we have not been there before. We believe in the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ, and some things are going to happen. The disappearance of national sovereignty, one currency, all of those things are already predicted. They cannot happen if impersonality continues to be the governor of human behavior. This is just the reality of the weight of prophecy. Now, we are not here to make the world sweet. We are here to advance the cause of the kingdom in the world. So the world is going to go into disarray. Deep darkness will cover the earth. Deep darkness, the people. But the light of God will rise on some people. That right there is our anchor. Our anchor is not to be worried about how darkness is going to fill the earth. That particular darkness is the credibility of the light that we must shine out of that darkness. So the credibility of faith as a whole is shining light out of darkness. So if we are afraid of the darkness, or we are perplexed by the darkness, then we cannot culture or penetrate the agenda of the light. That in itself is a symposium discussion. What is even truer right now is the fact that businesses are going to go into a big, high level, probably unprecedented level of extinction. There is still a crisis ahead of us that is maybe another 2-3 decades ahead of us. That is the mother of all crises as far as I'm concerned. But let's leave that. Today is for me to help our audience to understand that, look, the only way, what is the room for small businesses going forward is to find a compelling way of doing business, or a compelling idea that big business can depend on. If you look at the rise of Amazon, Amazon has destroyed so many small businesses. People don't know that. So many small businesses are dead because of the rise and continued rise of the monopoly of Amazon. The only way for some businesses to survive is to find a space within the business model of Amazon. So that is their security. But those companies have to be very compelling for Amazon to now depend on them for its own supply chain or its own logistics and delivery models and all of that. So a lot of small businesses are now able to find business because they can come on the platform of Amazon online. Otherwise, they were dead offline. A bookstore was dead offline, except that you could rent a space in the store of Amazon so that the world can see it. So it is to be smart. Like I've said to people, we're going to talk less and less of underdeveloped, developing, and developed nations. We're going to speak more and more of smart, smarter, and smartest nations. And so smartest businesses, and so smartest families, and smartest individuals. That is how the future is pretty much going to pan out. So the key for me—
Wait, hold on, KK, hold on.
Yes.
When you say smart, I'm assuming you are not just talking about intellectually, so you're talking about the use of technology.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so
that's where I'm going.
Please navigate from that thought.
Yes, so the world we are coming into is going to be driven by technology. In fact, I have forecasted that we are going to speak less of democracy as well in the next 2-3 decades. We're going to speak more and more of technocracy. And in a technocracy, we have all activities are driven by technology. That means that we're not going to stop having construction, but you are going to see the rise of 3D printing, building houses, as it is being done now in Mexico, in some parts of Europe, now already. You are not going to have fewer cars on the road, probably, but you are going to have driverless cars with human beings out of that equation that will give us more precision. So that is how the future is going to pan out. We are not going to stop having the internet, but there will be chips in our body that will make us the gadget instead of having gadgets. The air will be our monitor and we'll be browsing at the speed of thought. Those are not moves of the Antichrist. Those are technologies that the Lord has bequeathed to the human race so that we can speed up the agenda of God's kingdom. I'm going to get there very quickly because COVID is also not created by God, but God is using it as well to slow down the system so that a lot of people who were out of the loop can catch up. Because so many people were out of the loop already. In fact, the church in most parts of Africa was already out of the loop because we didn't understand the language of technology. So let me quickly zero in on that in 5 minutes so that whoever, I don't care what you do, whether you are a poet, a singer, an actor, a construction engineer, an events manager, a consultant, whatever you do, fashion designer, whatever you do in whatever economy you belong to, whether you are in Nigeria, Lusaka, you are in Johannesburg or Brazil or Rio de Janeiro, Mombasa, London or UK or the United States, wherever you are. The future now, when I say the future, I'm talking about from tomorrow morning, from the next 5 seconds, right? The future is about technology. You see, before now, in pre-COVID, essentially, we operate offline. Our offline experiences was our front door to what we do. Meanwhile, online is supposed to be the front door in the new world that we are coming into. COVID has come to shorten that space, but to take us there real fast, and then to give us time through the lockdown for us to prepare, re-strategize, retreat, reinvent, disrupt ourselves, and reposition for the new world that already passed us. I tell people, if you are ready, you are late. So part of that is that a lot of things were late already. So we have now been slowed down, and coming into that thinking, I will use a hospital as an example. If you are a hospital, pre-COVID, you were a hospital that uses technology to treat people, in that you have X-ray machines, MRI equipment, you have all those kind of things. You had technology to check blood pressure, you had all of that. So you were offline using, and your offline hospital was the front door into what you are doing. And technology was only used to treat people, okay? But in post-COVID, from today going forward, you are not a hospital using technology to reach people. You are a tech organization that is treating people. You are, first of all, a tech organization that is treating people. If you are a church, you are no longer a church using technology to reach people. You are a tech organization that is reaching people. So it means online is your new front door, and your work offline is supporting your online work. Tech is your front door, whatever that means for you. Tech is your front door. So what we want to ask is, how do we make that happen? Because you are coming into a new oppressive generation called Gen Z, Generation Z. The oldest of Generation Z is 23-year-old today. This generation is far more critical to ideas than millennials. We have left millennials behind. The millennials have now joined us now. Both us and the millennials are now looking to Generation Z. How you can rent a space in the heads of Gen Z and manipulate their preferences and prejudices will determine the space that you have. It's a restless generation, akin to freedom, creative rebellion resides with them. They audit everything, check everything. They are not committed to a cause. They audit everything. They want to know what is going on. They believe in rallying around a big idea that can change the world. Therefore, emotional connections cannot work for them. You have to connect with them ideologically for you to be able to master that generation. And the way they are online, right? They are expressed on social media of things. They are expressed on the tech side of things. And so everything we are doing, if we are going to be heard, if we are going to push ideas in this time, it has to be online. And there are key questions to ask. As we are
no. PK, hold on. Let's not finish everything in 30 minutes and then we close shop. Please, yes, drink some water. And let's, let the people digest. You have said look, what some of the things that you have said, chips are frying in some brains right now. And we need to pause, and address it. Of course, some of the obvious things that you have been trying to reiterate is the fact that technology is going to be a core driver. And I think that is something that all of us on this panel will have to accept. We can't deny the fact that technology is going to play and is already playing a major role, and it will only get more. And so as much as we are wondering what to do, whatever we are thinking of doing has to involve technology and its strong inculcation into every aspect. But we will need to break down. So please hold that thought concerning the questions that we will need to ask with respect to that, all right? Let me quickly come to you, Andrew. I'm going to come back to the issue of technology because for me that's very key. But please, Andrew, give some of the people listening quickly some of your thoughts concerning what an entrepreneur should consider, what a business owner, small business owner should consider at this point to give them a leading edge.
Yeah, cool. So I think following Pastor Kunle is always a difficult task, but we'll do what we can. At the end of the day, and if we build up on, we know where we are now, we acknowledge that the old way of doing things is like Pastor Kunle has said, is gone now. So impersonality is the new way forward, okay? Right now, you're managing a business, you are in a position where you're not able to operate and you're basically looking forward to where you're going to. Ordinarily, a lot of the opportunities that come to you ordinarily are not happening at the moment. And so a key thing that everyone needs to do, and I think Pastor Kunle touched on it as well, is first and foremost, stay calm. Yeah, to stay calm. To remember, at the end of the day, a lot of our entrepreneurs that we're dealing with, you've built a business from somewhere. It may look like it's in the trenches at the moment, but the fact that you came from somewhere and got to somewhere should give you the confidence that you will be able to get somewhere. What is different here is that somewhere may be very different to where you were before. So if you have the mindset that where you were before is where you are going to end up or where you should be, then I think, as Pastor Kunle has very ably demonstrated, there's going to be a problem. Okay, so that's number one. So there's that acknowledgement. We need to acknowledge that. The other thing, and I know it sounds very, very basic, but I think it's important in some of our discussions previously, is that if indeed you are struggling at the moment, or there's challenges that you have, different governments have put forward various initiatives that small businesses can access. Financiers are putting forward various initiatives that you can access to give you that time. Okay, because what you want is, at least if your business should be able to survive. You can't thrive if you don't survive in the first place. We've already established a lot of businesses at risk of failure. So you have to survive first, we will thrive. And in fact, there are some who are already thriving, but if we're starting in terms of building up, we start with the person who is not yet in a point of survival. Survival is about what opportunities are there right now. Some of them may be offered by government, some of them may be offered by your financiers, some of them by your own proactive engagement with different stakeholders that are involved in your business. I'm a consultant. A lot of the things we do, especially in times of crisis, is to help you to renegotiate certain transactions that you've undertaken, help you to renegotiate and engage different stakeholders. Pastor Kunle has mentioned something which is absolutely key in this particular time. And your team members, your staff members, the younger members, how are you carrying them all along this journey? Because at the end of the day, you need all of that. Let's be honest, when you take in all of this at one go, it can be quite overwhelming. You need to be able to be very clear in your thinking, and your team can help you to do that. The people that you work with, the people around you, can help you to clarify your thinking about where you're going. But acknowledging that the future is unlikely to be similar to the past. So if you go into, if you carry on and are planning to do things the way you've always done them, then guaranteed it's going to be very, very difficult. The other thing to bear in mind is that the process of rolling back the lockdowns and the scaling back that we've seen in the economy is clearly going to be a phased process. Okay, so as you are sitting thinking about your business or getting back into activity, your thinking should also be able to match the rate at which activities are likely to come back, and even be a step or two ahead of that. So you anticipate, at the moment we have a total lockdown, what am I able to do? If you're already online, or you already have some capabilities, you're already making use of them, or at least preparing them. Okay, so as Pastor Kunle said, if you're ready, then you're late. So you can't afford to be ready at the point when the economy opens up. You must already be running and implementing whatever you believe you need to implement to be relevant. This is a question about relevance. We already mentioned something quite important. Even in this environment, there are businesses that are printing money. Okay, why? It's because they are relevant for the time that we are in. And so every business must begin to think, how am I going to be relevant? How can I be relevant now, if possible? How can I be relevant when there's a partial reopening? How can I be relevant when the economy comes back into full swing? Although acknowledging that that full swing will not be where we've been before. At the end of the day, going back to my earlier point, the fact that you've done it before, you've been there before, should give a great degree of confidence that at the end of the day, we weather the storm. The future is actually there for us to benefit from. The other thing that occupies my mind at the moment is, let's be honest, there is pressure on governments to make sure that economies begin to thrive sooner rather than later. Okay, so the question is, how do you position yourself, or how do you take advantage of that? If you're in an area or a space that is likely to benefit directly or indirectly from a lot of these initiatives that governments deem as relevant to make sure that economies start to scale back, I believe it's still going to take a bit of time before economies get back to where they are at the moment. But notwithstanding, being able to say, okay, fine, as the economy scales up, as government rolls out various initiatives, how am I positioned? Is my business relevant? And I think answering the question of relevance is now more important than ever. The other thing that is very important, the saying, and I know it's been abused, you never waste a good crisis. What have you learned about your business? What have we learned about our businesses? We must not forget those lessons. There's a lot more clarity now. So actually, I didn't actually need this particular asset, or we can actually operate in an effective manner in this particular type of environment. The lessons that are being learned must not be forgotten. The time that is available, perhaps in a Slack, in this sort of a Slack period, should be a time when you reflect and say, what have I actually learned about my business? Do I run my cash flows too thinly? Do I have the right people? Do I have the right strategy? Do I have the right engagements? Have I been consulting the right people? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people wish they had been listening to Pastor Kunle now, given the revelations that have been coming out over time. So it's those sorts of things that we need to also make sure that we take cognizance of and build on. But for me, at the end of the day, the question is about relevance, now more than ever. I think you need to unmute your mic.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Andrew. Look, you've said some very important things. There are one or two questions that I'm hoping we can answer. One or two people have thrown questions at us. But let me reiterate some of the things that you have said and then throw some thoughts, and then I'll come back to you, PK. One of the first things that you mentioned, which for me is a major deal, is the fact that we need to keep calm. Because you and I know that once we begin to panic, our brain shuts down. And we need that creativity right here, right now. And I love the way you put it. If you were able to start the business from ground zero to where it is now, then there is some capacity already in you. Now, of course, we need a workshop that, but don't doubt the fact that there's capacity there. A few things, though, you mentioned that we need to look at what the governments are making available. That is essential for all of us. You need, one of the first things I really will say, as much as we want to download new ideas, we want to innovate, we want to use technology, the government, your government, has already made whatever country you're in. Most governments, unfortunately, not as much in the West as we see, not as much in Africa as we see in the West. But South Africa, for example, has made provision available. Let me throw this out there. If you are in South Africa, there is a website that I really want to encourage you to go to. Let me see if I can find it here. As of, if I'm not mistaken, as of 2 weeks ago, no, last week, already 80,000 companies had already applied for the debt relief fund, because there is a small business debt relief fund that has been made available for small businesses, registered small businesses in South Africa. I don't know what applies in countries. I know that in the US, there is a variety of options. They even have options for churches. They have, it's good to be in the West, isn't it? You know, but let's appreciate what we have in Africa. And the website will be smmesa.gov.za. Let me say that again, smmesa.gov.za. It will be great for you to go there and try and register there. They have actually not made it extremely difficult. They really haven't made it extremely difficult. The only thing that you will need to be able to show is that you are duly registered, that you have a tax number, and then thirdly, that your account can show that you have experienced a negative impact during this process. And as difficult as that sounds, that's actually not too difficult to pull off. That your business has shown a negative impact, you will be able to get access to some of these resources. Another thing that Andrew has mentioned, which I think is key, is that this is a test of your relevance. And I think that fits into what PK was saying about the issue of technology. Because if when you look at your business model now, and its offering now, if it cannot accommodate the place of technology in its projection, in its going forward, if you cannot find a way to bring it online and let that be your, in the words of PK, your front door, and then your relevance is really under attack. And it's something that you strongly need to address. Let me say one or two things quickly before I come back to PK, and then give both of you a final thought, because I want us to be done in another 30 minutes. A few common sense things that I want to recommend, all right, that we should do. Andrew has already mentioned one, the fact that get what the authorities are offering. Number two, you need to cut down on unnecessary costs right now. I'm not saying lay off staff. Please, everyone is struggling. If you don't have to lay off staff, you don't do that right now. You might be able to actually get away with bringing your staff together and saying, can we review our income? I know some small businesses are doing that now, where instead of being laid off, they're actually willing to take certain small pay cuts so that everyone bears the burden, everybody carries the brunt of this. You need to look at where you can cut expenses. One key way that you can consider is your office spaces. For many of us now, your office space might now currently become irrelevant and might be relevant for an extended period of time. And so you need to ask yourself, is there a way to actually break out of that contract? Is there a way to let go of that office with minimum impact? You need to actually review and find ways to cut down on your expenses. Again, when I say this, please, I'm not saying go lay off staff. I'm dealing with too many people going through crisis now. If we can find ways instead of laying off people, because when you lay them off, they come to the church. So please don't send people to me right now. Don't lay them off, I beg of you. Instead, ask if they are willing to take certain pay cuts. Most people will be willing because they understand the job market out there is difficult. Let me give you one more. Now, most businesses, even the large ones, are working from home, are working remotely. One of the challenges that we face is that for solo entrepreneurs, small business owners, your time, a lot of us working remotely from home is difficult. And I have been talking to too many who are wasting time. When you profile the amount of time they spend on their businesses daily, and those of you watching, you need to do that. You need to profile and do a check on yourself. How much effort are you putting into your business daily? Catalog your time, and you will see how much time you are actually wasting. Because every time you waste is money and resource and customers and clientele that you could actually have been reaching. And so another basic thing for you to look at is how are you maximizing your time? I know that this seems so ordinary, but you will be shocked. Again, we're dealing with individuals that are running small organizations, maybe 50 people at maximum that you are overseeing, that you are working with directly, indirectly. I encourage you, do an audit of your time so that you are maximizing it. There are a few more things that I will say before we end, but let me mention this for Pastor Kunle, who I'm going to go back to right now. He has some resources that will really help your thinking.
Sorry, Pastor Tim,
the details of the resources on the YouTube chat, right? But I want to encourage you, go there, buy some of those resources, download some of, he has both free material and paid for material, pay for those materials, download them. He also has provision for you to interact, throw out questions so that they can help you. His organization can give you some clarity. Believe me, he mentioned it before. This is the season where clarity becomes a tool of the trade that you will need. You can't be ambiguous anymore about what you are offering and how you're offering and to who you're offering it to. Clarity becomes key. So I will give, as he begins to talk now and push the thought as we begin to bring this to a close, I will give you his website details that you can go to. I encourage you, please go there. Please go there. It will do you a world of good. Now, PK, back to you, right? Let's pick it up again. We talked about the necessity for technology. We've tried to augment. Really, you are the solar system right now. We are all just revolving, sharp. And so, in as much as you have said all that you have said, I really want to encourage, okay, where to now? Somebody was just asking the question, and maybe I should ask it. Said, look, I hear you. Andrew has said it. You have said it. I need to position my business. I need to position my business. How exactly do I do that? I think a good portion of that you've already answered when you're saying use technology. Begin to look at how technology can help you with respect to that. But if you can speak to that, but more so, I'm interested in the questions that you were asking. Yeah. Please go.
Yeah. I'm going to say, I think about 7 questions are very critical at this time. The first one will be, what is too much? What is too much? You've already said it, prioritizing. We need to answer the question of, what is too much? What is too little? What is too little? Do you need to reskill at this time? You need to, what do you need to do? Do you need to get up your office, like you rightly said? Those 2 questions will collapse, a lot of things for you and help you to navigate and see clearly what is too much, what is too little. Then you also need to ask, where is power now? Where is power? Power is no longer just in the hand of the customer. It is, but how? So the customer satisfaction and ideas like that are now pretty much secondary issues. The primary issue, because for you to measure customer satisfaction, it has to buy from you first and then behave before you can now measure whether it's satisfied or not. So there's another idea, which is customer preference and customer prejudice. And those are the new things we need to worry about, because the customer does not even know himself now. As we are at home in the lockdown, we are forming new habits, new ways of thinking. We are generating new ways of interpreting the world without our permission, and we are not even aware. it is after lockdown that we're going to realize what our new preferences here. Oh, I want to stay on one location. I don't want to go. So you just realize that your taste, your culture, your buying behavior, your buying patterns, everything has changed without you knowing. And you will never know as long as you remain on the lockdown. So the entrepreneur and the innovator of today wants to rent a space, like I've said. You want to find a way to know how people are thinking, what their preferences are, and what their prejudices are at this time. In doing that, I think there are other 5 questions to look at. Where is the money now? Whatever you are doing, your money, whether you are a non-profit or you are a for-profit or whatever you do, where is your money? Who is holding that money now? Don't save yourself from how things used to be and look at who is holding that money. When I say who, I don't mean one individual. What market? What age bracket? When are they coming out? Do they come out in the night? When do they buy? Do they buy in the afternoon? Do they buy in the night? Then, how do you reach them? Third question, how do you reach them? It doesn't make sense again to continue to earn within the limits of your geography. Look at for those who are in Nigeria, for example, or countries with mono economies dependent on oil. You see what is happening in Angola, what is happening in Nigeria right now. So the Naira has already fallen to about 400, probably going to go to about 700 or so before the end of the year or something, if not worse. So the idea is you are now online, you are out of a pond. Working within your locale is fishing in a pond. You are now in an ocean online, and you can attract purchasing power from everywhere in the world. I call it borderlessness. In 2018, I shared about the concept of borderlessness as the energy of the future. That is the upgrade of globalization as we know it. And that is the ability of the human soul to, from one spot, attract purchasing power, attract value from all over the world, and bring it to his own location. ISIS did that with their evil. Amazon, Google, and big organizations are doing that. So if you cannot define your personal economics and make personal economic decisions without reference to national boundaries, without the limits of geography, you probably are not online yet. When you come online, if you want to post something on Facebook, for example, and you want to promote it, why do you want to promote it in Johannesburg alone? Why do you want them to see it only in Lusaka or in Lagos or in Dallas? Why don't you even ignore your locale and let them see it in Jamaica and put UK? Let them see, they will see it there, And then what stops you from opening a business in the United States and having a number and a bank account in the United States so that you can be trusted more in the international waters, which is quite murky, than using your local address in Nigeria or in Accra or in Dakar. So you got to think about that. And so you want to think about Forex. How do I earn in hard currency? Those are the key things that online gives you, because anybody anywhere can see you. Online is all the computers in the world coming to one spot. So you have to make everybody see you. How do you get visible? Where is the money? Who is holding it? How do you reach those people? If you reach them, what do you say? What do you say? You no longer can use hard copies the way we used to do them. Emotions cannot sell anymore. You need to be ideological, and when you think about the strongest products in a time of complexity like this, you think about capitalism, ideology. You think about democracy, ideology, communism, ideology, Nazism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. Those are different ideologies that have changed the world onto good or onto evil. So right now, the only space in the head of people has to be ideological. People need to believe in something that makes you buyable, something that transcends just the comfort of success, for them to invest in you, even for them to send their money in a direction. They are not sending in the direction of waste or excesses or their whims and fancies. They send their money in a direction of need, what is really critical now. So you got to meet them at that point ideologically. So your messaging has to change. I also had a webinar tonight where I'm talking about ideological messaging in post-COVID. It's so critical. So where is your money? Who is holding that money? How do you reach them? If you reach them, what do you say? If you know what to say, how do you say it? Do you need a daily podcast? Do you need an e-brochure? Do you need a global report for your industry? Do you need a website, a blog? Do you need ClickFunnels? Do you need a digital marketer in your business now to help you say, what do you need to do? I mean, Where is your money? Who is holding that money? I don't mean one person. I mean the market, the demographic. Who is holding it? How do you reach those people? If you reach them, what is your pitch? What's your story? What's your narrative to them? If you know what to say, how exactly do you say it? I think if you answer those questions, you will birth your new positioning in this newness, and you will birth, you know, a new market even for yourself, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. If you go to the comment section, we have a few questions that are there, and I need to throw these questions out right now. All right, because we're almost out of time. But also, if you go there, certain people are cataloging what the speakers are saying. So if you miss any part of it, of course, we'll upload this video. You can watch it again. But look at the comment section and take note of Noxie, Marsha. They're cataloging what they are saying, summarizing what they are saying, so that you can have easy access. So please take advantage of that. But I have a question here. And Andrew, I'm hoping that you can look into this. The second question, because it's more futuristic in nature, I'll throw that one at PK. But there is a question here from Mariah Mukendi. Where do future entrepreneurs fall? Those looking to become relevant with their businesses, how do you suggest they start? So Andrew, these are businesses, they've not yet started, but they're watching. How should they start considering the current landscape, especially those who retail merchandise from countries other than their own? Did you get that? Especially those who retail merchandises from countries other than their own. So they're about to get in. Where should they and how should they start? Talk to me, sir.
And that, yeah, so you can hear
Yes,
me now, yeah?
there we go.
So at the end of the day, you have to start, okay? So start, okay? Now, how you then determine which market you play in, what exactly you sell, or how you source it, etc., is really a function of. So I think it's two things. Yeah. So they're different.
Wait, Andrew. I think they already have a model. They already have a business model. So they probably already have the merchandise that they already want to source from different countries. I'm assuming that they've already done their research to see its necessity, to see its relevance, to see that there is a demand for it. If that's not already done, then Maria, then that's where you start. So assuming that you already have that in this kind of environment, what should they put in place to go from here?
All right, cool. So, I mean, a lot of it, Pastor Kunle has covered, yeah? So at the end of the day, you are looking to get your product known by whoever needs to know it, wherever they are. You need to make sure you're able to get it to them when they need it, okay? As basic as that. So in this environment, what are you doing in terms of, you can't go and, the way that you market or make known what you're doing about your product is what is critical. So there's plenty of capability on all of these online platforms that allows you to reach a much broader audience in a shorter time at even a more cost-effective, in a more cost-effective manner. So it's online retailing, okay, or at least online advertising in one way, shape, or form. If in this day and age you are selling goods and services, you do not have a reasonable or a substantial online presence on your own website if need be, or you're not using Facebook, you're not using the other tools that are available to market yourself, then I think you're well behind. Yeah. So that needs to be there. You then need to know, I mean, and this is where the power of technology really comes into play. Once you start using these tools, they actually start to direct you to who your customers are, where they might be, what they might actually be looking for next. Okay. So the power of technology and some of the tools that are available cannot be underemphasized or overemphasized. Yeah. At the end of the day, you have to be in this space now to be relevant. You have to make sure that actually, I mean, something as basic as make sure how you understand how the rules of Facebook work, for example, if you're advertising. A simple change in some of your configurations can take your reach from 10 to 30 people to tens of thousands of people, simply if you simply understand the rules, and there are rules that are embedded there. And actually, if you think about it, all these online platforms want you to succeed. So there's a lot of support that is available to actually help you to make sure that your online strategy, your strategy, which is underpinned by technology, is efficient. Once you've done that in terms of building the awareness, using the right tools, the next bit is how do you make sure that the rest of the logistics also flow? There also has to be an interchange, an interlink between how your orders are coming in, how you're able to dispatch them. And if you're not able to do that yourself, which you may not have the capability to do it, there are many different organizations that can then pick up the logistics for you to transfer your goods from A to B. And this is the bit, or maybe not on the same scale as Pastor Kune was talking about in terms of Amazon. In fact, why not? It's about how do you then fit into this ecosystem? You source these particular goods, they get delivered to you. You make sure they're appropriately marketed. You partner with someone who then delivers them for you. You focus on what you're good at. You are good at, I can identify what's needed. I know where to source it cheaply. I may not have the capability to bring it in or to distribute it. So you focus on what you're good at and see who you can partner with to help you with the rest of the value chain. That then helps in terms of, especially if you don't have that scale to do it yourself, at least from the basic point of view. Deal with what you can, make sure technology is working for you, understand the rules. All too often you find people do a website and it's not been updated for months and months. All those things they send a message about how online you are, as Pastor Kunde has said. So please leverage the technology that's there. There's a lot of very powerful tools.
No, thank you. Thank you. That is awesome. That is awesome. Pastor Kule has to go soon. So I need him to answer this particular question. I hope you paid attention to the things that Andrew said. He's going to come back finally and give us his closing thoughts. He has an interesting perspective on if you're already in debt and what you should consider doing. Am I right, Andrew? And what you should consider doing. All right. So please stay online for that. But Pastor Kule, there's a very important question here. It says some companies will stop existing because they will be redundant. With that said, some new entities will be created. Which sectors will start to have the most opportunities? That sounds like the kind of question for a futurist.
Yeah, thank you very much. Education has a lot of new opportunities: online learning, homeschooling, supply chain. Supply chain has incredible opportunities. Logistics, delivery, security has incredible consultants. You know, there are new disciplines. We're going to transcend the limits of how we learn. We're going to have knowledge areas like distraction management. So you're going to have distraction management consultants. So there's going to be a lot of physical conferencing will not have a place in the future for so many reasons. So online strategy session, virtual thought-led consulting, not just consulting, but thought-led consulting is going to grow. The fashion space is going to grow because we're going to see new apps coming up that is going to allow for precision measurement so that geography can be eliminated in taking measurements from anywhere in the world, right, and making their clothes and delivering to them. So you're going to have event companies are going to grow, contrary to what people think, but it's going to be more within the 1%. So I'm going to encourage a lot of people in fashion, in events, interior decor to set up a luxury arm of their business so that they can position for the 1% of the 1% pretty much. Because of COVID, even when the lockdown is out, nobody's going to be able to gather 500 people into a party or to do big things like that, large crowding and all of that. Cinemas are going to be it. So you're going to have more luxury where you have 50 people in a party. You have 20 people in a party, and who can afford that? So you need to create a luxury version. Don't forget, it's not new. It's just about taking a stake in the options. A lot of businesses have to consider that. Lexus is owned by Toyota. Lexus is the luxury for Toyota. So whether you buy Toyota or you buy Lexus, you are buying from the same company. In Nigeria, we have a product called Peak Milk, Peak Milk owns a product called 3 Crowns. They both are milk, but one is for the masses, one is for the 1%. So whether you buy Peak Milk or 3 Crowns, you are buying them. DSTV in South Africa, they have GoTV. GoTV is for the masses. The DSTV thing is for those who can afford it. So they create products for everybody. So whether you choose GoTV or you prefer, you can love Instagram more than you love Facebook. Some say I hate Facebook, I prefer Instagram. Some say I love Instagram. Whether you love Instagram or you love Facebook, you are paying Mark Zuckerberg. It's the same guy. So think about creating a stake in the option so that whether it's you don't have a partisan approach to business, you know, whether it is democracy, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, you gain, right? So you want to be in that kind of position where whichever way the consumer decides to think, you have a comfort system in place. So think about that. We don't have time to go through all of that, but like Pastor said, I do have a detailed, my first webinar was on the making sense of the whole post-COVID 4 hours. It's available online. I have a 2-hour work with the futurist, the celebrity futurist, Thomas Frey from the United States. We were together to look at new skills, new careers, new industries, and all of that. 2 hours. I have another 3-hour work on how businesses can position, how you can be a monopoly as the only way to go. That's another 3 hours. Then my borderlessness work, 1 hour each, 4 hours of work since 2018 about how to bring tech into your business, how to be a monopoly, how to maximize online, and how to penetrate your brand in the 2020s. It is never relevant as before. Over 5,000 sales gone already. So think about that, and it's available. Pastor put it online and learn more there. Like Pastor said, unfortunately, I need to go. There's another session I need to plug into right now. Thank you, Pastor, for bringing me, Pastor Tim. I really celebrate you. Thank you so much. I don't take it for granted at all.
Thank you so much, PK. We're going to release you. We will be done with all of this in another 5-7 minutes, but thank you so much. Your insights are always overwhelming. We need to do this again to ensure that some of the extra questions, because I'm seeing a few more questions, you know, so that we can really give you time. Maybe I'll bring you all individually so that we have enough time for you to really release your thoughts without this. Maybe I need a distraction management consultant now, you know, just to ensure that I'm able to get all of this in, you know. But PK, God bless you. You are released. Have a good one. It's going to be on another show. Which show are you going on now? So that when we log out from here, we can catch you. Which show are you going to be on next? Do you have the details?
It's Nia this way. I don't know if you can. I think it's
okay.
Nia this way.
You know,
IG Live.
What I will do is I'll get the information. I'll get the information and I will put it on my Facebook page. So please, let's migrate from here, go there. And if questions he didn't answer here, go there and harass him. And let him answer them there. Not escape. Everything is borderless now. God bless you. Have a good one. Go say hi to my friend. Go.
All right.
Now, to conclude this, and Andrew, what are your final thoughts? What are your final thoughts? Please talk about the issue of debt that you said, and then just some final thoughts to throw out there for the people.
Basically, picking up on because you went straight, when you went from some of the basics that we need to be thinking about and transitioned into what Pastor Kunle had to say. One thing that did cross my mind is the issue of debt and how it might be a very real issue for a lot of us. Yeah. So like we said when we started, businesses would be at different phases. Yeah. So some went into the COVID situation stable from a financial perspective. They had weathering the storm. Others went in with a few challenges. Others, well, even before COVID, were like perhaps the high-risk COVID patient, if that makes sense. So COVID has just added to the challenges that are there. So one thing that in terms of when you look at that every entity needs to do is obviously profile your stakeholders. Yeah, you know your debtors, you've got your creditors, you've got your shareholders, etc. A key stakeholder in helping you to survive is the people that you owe money, whether that's your suppliers, or your bankers. Yeah. So one thing that I think is very, very important is to be very, very proactive in how you deal with these parties. It's not time to avoid them. It's time to engage them and maybe over-engage them. Speak to them, have a chat with them, let them know where you are. There is, in addition to the packages that governments are offering, a lot of bankers are offering certain concessions. See how you can benefit from that to give you some relief during this period. It's time to engage. It's in no time such as this that we see banks actually coming and offering a lot of these reliefs to their customers. Make sure you're aware of them, make sure you're talking to your bankers, and see what comes out of that process. They know that they need you to survive. The scale of this challenge in terms of on financial institutions is such that it's become their headache as well. Okay, so they need to find a way to help businesses survive. So see how you can take advantage of that and benefit from some of the reliefs that might be there. I thought in some of the basic, when we're discussing some of the basic issues that entities might need to consider, that's something that is quite critical.
No, that is very key. Thank you so much for that. We're going to close now. Let me reiterate some things that Andrew has actually said that really is very important. In the course of his talking, he mentioned the necessity for you to again look at your online offerings, to look at your website. Even us as a church and as Team Grace Consulting, we're redoing our entire website. Why? Because a lot more has to be made available online. And so for that individual, Maria, that was asking, what do I do? I'm trying to start my business. I'm trying to get into the entrepreneurship arena. What should I do? With everything that you have heard, please understand, if you are about to get into any business right now and you cannot maximize the place of technology, then that business's lifespan is very limited going forward. So you need to, from the beginning, begin to ask yourself, how do I leverage on this? When Kunle speaks about online schooling, please understand, he's not just talking about teaching people from grade R to grade 12. No, it's a lot more than that. We're talking about taking your skills. We're talking about taking your years of knowledge and begin to package it as a training course, whether you're a plumber, whether you are, whatever you are, to take your skill, get a camera somewhere and do a training course. You will be shocked how many people will be willing to actually pay you resources. I mean, across the globe for your little video that shows them how they can do this for themselves and how they can learn this just by watching you. You need to find ways to make your resources now widely available. I want to close. I'm going to actually give Andrew an opportunity to close out on this. But let me mention something that I noticed there was very key. I think you already have the idea that digital marketing is a must. So review your digital marketing. Make sure your digital marketing is clear. When we talk about that, there are three best ways that you can invest aggressively into marketing at the moment. This is something I've been trying to explain to some people in recent times. You need to improve on your brand awareness and make sure it's focused on keeping your business at the top of your customer's mind. See, even though your customers might not be currently buying, you need to be engaging them. You should have a list. You're a small business. You should have a list of your customers. They might not be buying right now because of what you are selling, the nature of your industry, but you need to reach out to them. When fishermen can't go fishing, they wash their nets. They look after their networks. You need to do that now. So you are reaching out to them. You are telling them that you are reworking some things, that you are improving on some things so that you keep your brand conscious in them. If you don't do it, somebody else is doing it. Number two, you need to ensure that you are creating thought leadership articles. What am I saying? Look, if you didn't have a blog, maybe you need to get one now. If you thought social media was not a big deal, do not let the world leave you behind. When we say thought leadership articles, in your own field, Go and research, write some important thoughts, send it to your clients, send it to your customers, things that you authored, things that begins to make them see you as an authority figure in the field. Send them the link to what you put together. Let them read and let them say, oh my goodness, this person might actually be an expert in this field, an expert in this area of my thought. You need to do that. This is about positioning yourself with your clientele, positioning yourself with your customers. The third thing with respect to digital marketing that I will put here is pushing online sales that will ensure your business's economic status won't be badly affected. You need to try. There is nothing like too much. You need to hound. Andrew mentioned that briefly. You need to hound. You need, he said so with your debtors, but I'm also saying so with your clients, with your consumers. You need to oversell. You need to put it there consistently so that they are seeing that you have this and you have this. Have they considered this? Sometimes just to keep you quiet, somebody will reach out and just say, okay, just to keep you quiet and just get you off their back. But you need to push it. Are we together? I personally think that we can survive. There's so much more that's here that I've not been able to say, but know this. The God that we serve, if you are saved, the God that we serve is able to ensure that you don't only survive, that you thrive. He can give you ideas that will even predict what the market will go for. Daniel did it. Ideas that foresee what the king needs. And when you present to the king, goes, oh yes, that's the dream that I had. Oh yes, I actually need that. You can actually receive such downloads. So you are not helpless. Take note of all the things that we've cataloged, all the things that we've written. Take note of them. Begin to, write them out and implement them. But know this, as you do all of that, you have an edge. You have an edge. He's a person, his name is the Holy Spirit, and he can see you through and ensure that even as others are collapsing, if at all the collapse is there because we're all trying to predict what's going to come, you thrive. I want to give you a final thought. 2 minutes. Andrew, say something to us.
Well, I think I go back to the illustration that I gave, and the reason why I go back to the illustration of the case study is that that's how I've basically been managing through this situation. I look around, I see what's there. Okay, it's there, right? But there's nothing. If I spend all of my time wondering and lamenting about what my business was, where I was going, it helps no one. Your point right now about where we go next and how we move is really about the next steps that we are children of God first and foremost. So we have seen the answer script. Okay, if I can put it that way. There's a case study which is here. We need to answer the exam, but we also have the answer script at the same time and access to it. So the attitude that we sustain during this period, the thoughts that we continue to entertain in our minds regarding where you've come from, how far you've come, should be an encouragement that indeed once, even in this phase, there is opportunity for us. That goes without saying, and that's something that everyone else should take away. Even if currently, like I said, there's people at different stages of the process. If indeed you are in significant stress, reach out, speak, talk about it, share the load. There are plenty of people just like this. In terms of, I'm sure there are 1 or 2 ideas that have been picked up in here. Share this video, share an encouragement with someone else. Let's also look out for each other because we need each other to succeed. But beyond that is to say, at the end of the day, there's nothing new under the sun. Cycles come and go. This is going to turn around. If you're only going to start preparing for the turnaround when it happens, you're already too late. You have missed some opportunities. So how do you then start positioning yourself to make sure that you're already ahead of the curve? I think that's it. We survive, we will thrive. It goes without saying. And of course, I can't end this without saying thank you very much for this opportunity. It's really been very, very humbling, Pastor Tim. I do love love. I mean, every day I wake up, I do not miss your devotions. They've actually been quite critical and instrumental in actually sustaining myself and my family during this period. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody watching now on YouTube. We've come to the end. There's something that Andrew said that you need to remember. He says, well, he's echoing a popular sentiment, never waste a good crisis. And that is so true. David shows up, he sees Goliath. That was a crisis. Instead of lamenting like everybody lamented, he engaged God, he engaged the situation. He found out what the possibilities were, killed Goliath, and became a son-in-law to the king. Somebody is about to become a son-in-law to the king. Somebody is about to be invited into the palace of greatness. Somebody is about to become part of the 1%, because God has a way of ensuring that you are able to ride a storm all the way to your destination. This storm, this COVID storm, this economic whirlwind is not going to destroy you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. You will pull through. I speak a blessing over all of you. Even those of you that don't believe in God, who cares? I speak a blessing over you too. And I declare that with wisdom, the wisdom that comes from God, you will navigate and you will succeed in this season. I'm going to put where Kunle is going to be next on my Facebook page. If you still want to hear a bit more from him, feel free to go there. You can catch a bit more detail about Andrew from his LinkedIn. When you look at his profile on LinkedIn, hey, Jesus, it makes some people look like they didn't go to school. So when you get there, don't be intimidated. Just accept it, that there are some very intelligent people out there, and choose to explore his intelligence. I am holding a masterclass. If you're interested, there's a masterclass that is going to teach you at the end of May into June, that is going to teach you on how to become another man, so that the quality of your decisions, not just in your career, in every area of your life, transforms. It's going to be it's going to be about 4 weeks. Everything's going to be online. If you're interested in that masterclass, it's not open to everybody. Reach out to me. We have already received quite a number of people interested. Andrew has even said he's going to be on that masterclass. It will be great for you guys to come. Send me a private message on preferably go to my Facebook. I want to pray for you. If you have not subscribed to my channel, my YouTube channel that you're watching this, subscribe now. As soon as we're done, subscribe now. Click the bell so that you never miss another event that we're putting together, and we have a lot that will benefit you. Let me pray for you. Everlasting Father, thank you for this time. I declare that the wisdom that you have shared has gone on and is falling on good ground. It bears good fruit as it takes strong roots even in the hearts of your people. Thank you, oh God. Their businesses will not die, and it will go beyond survival. It will thrive. Thank you, Father, because I know it is so. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. It is well with you. Have a lovely one. Share this link. Tell somebody they need this data. They should get data and they should use it to listen to everything that has been shared. Tell them it is your investment to their future. They and their children will bless you for it. Bye for now, okay? Bye for now. Andrew, stay on, don't go yet. Let me just get off the live feed, and then we can have our own private conversation. God bless you. Bye for now. Let me see how I do this.